Hi, I'm Morgan. I'm here with the author of I Am a Tool, Shelby Abbott. I have a question. Why did you title your book I Am a Tool?
I titled it that way because I wanted to be clever, to catch people's attention, but the book was written as the intention was to write it as a tool for people to use in order to help them with their dating life. So I thought it was a good kind of double meaning, not only to catch people's attention, because when someone calls themselves a tool, it's kind of this almost slam upon themselves, but dealing with like the dating world, if you're not dating well, people can be called a tool. And so I thought it was clever and funny, and then it also literally is meant to be a tool to help people with their dating life. So something that you would use in order to act something out in a better way, which is what a tool does. So,
That's really cool.
yeah.
What inspired you to write this book?
The inspiration for the book really was I've been in ministry with college students for a long time, about 15 years, and I've noticed that there's so many guys and girls that really don't have any kind of framework for dating. They don't know what to do because no one's really ever told them, and with the generation that really is the millennial generation, your generation, they have a tendency to slip back into what is kind of the easiest way to do things. I spent a lot of time in the book on social media and texting in particular. Kind of the more common problems that exist with today's generation, I felt it wasn't being addressed in any type of dating book that was out there for Christians. Most of the time when people think of Christian dating books, they think of I Kiss Dating Goodbye, which was written back in 2001. So it was 14 years ago. And there really hasn't been a book that's been written to help Christians and speak to them on their level and the things that they go through on a daily basis, the things that are incorporated into their lives on a very common basis. So I wanted to do that and not just talk about a lot of what dating books talk about. I think if there's a dating book out there that's been written recently geared towards high schoolers or college students, it's kind of just 10 to 12 chapters of keep it in your pants, and that's basically all they say. So I felt like there was so much more to dating than that. So of course I do talk about sexual purity in the book, but I also talk about friendship and communication and service, like caring for one another, not manipulating one another, and then of course, like I said, social media and texting. So I wanted to cover a broad range of issues in a dating book, as opposed to just the kind of common ones. So,
What would you say is the number one trait in a relationship?
the number one desirable trait? Well, I mentioned this earlier, is friendship. I think friendship is probably the best thing that you can look for in someone that you want to date, because I found that that puppy love romantic feeling, while it's good, that's a very good thing, it really ebbs and flows. It goes up and down, up and down, up and down all the time. And if you get to a point where you look at the person that you're dating, you think to yourself, if I didn't have romantic feelings for this person, would I actually want to be friends with them? If the answer is no, you're in really big trouble. Because if you marry a person just based on that kind of electrical spark, or you end up being with that person for a long time, when hard times come and the puppy love fades away, and you don't actually consider the person that you're with a friend, you're going to hate each other, because hard times will come. They will come in the future, whether that be health issues or family issues or kid issues in the future. All that stuff will be there. So a very solid, godly friendship is what needs to be the base for any quality relationship.
In your book, you talk about the importance of communicating and deciding on physical boundaries in your dating relationship. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, it's really important to talk with one another about what the parameters are of your relationship in many different ways. What will we say? What won't we say? Like, for example, some people will jump in very quickly and say, "I love you," in a relationship, and that can be very jarring for the other person. So it's important to talk about those norms, those boundaries. But also in the physical area, it's really important because especially the younger generation, they just kind of go with what they feel, and often if they're feeling something, they'll try to express that in a physical way. We see that all the time. with young people and with old people as well. They just kind of do what they feel, and often people will go out on like one date, and the guy will want to kiss the girl, and maybe the girl doesn't want that, or maybe the girl wants to kiss the guy, and maybe he's not ready for something like that. So it's really important to communicate and talk about those things fairly close to the beginning of any kind of romantic interest. And when you set up those parameters, it helps you both to keep one another accountable for what we will do and what we won't do. Obviously, it's a Christian book, so I'm more on the conservative side on stuff, but it just helps too, because in the heat of the moment sometimes when you're with someone, often boundaries get crossed, compromises get made, and you'll see couples driving to the local pharmacy to buy a pregnancy test. And so if you're talking about those things on the front end, you'll know that, like, hey, we're not going to ever pass this line. Whatever that line may be, we're not going to pass this line. And that way, if one of the persons in the couple passes that line, we're like, hey, we talked about this. And it's not just between them as well. I really encourage in the book for other friends to be involved in that. People that you trust, like your parents or your siblings, or someone that might be a mentor to you spiritually, so they can ask you those questions. Hey, I know you guys went out last night. What did you do? Did you cross any of those boundaries that you guys set up? Important questions like that, involving people really well in the process of setting up the boundaries. So I think dating is important. I didn't talk about stuff like courtship, which is also kind of a common Christian thing, but I wrote it for a college audience and even a high school audience as well. And I think that most college students on the whole and high school students are dating. They're not courting. Courting is a very narrow group of people. It's great, it's good for some people, but most college students are dating, and so that's what I wanted to write about and talk about. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed it.